Mr. Ruppersberger.
Well, Director, first I do want to congratulate you and all the men and women who work for the FBI. You do a good job. Our job in oversight, we have to look at certain things that we think how we can do better. One of the issues I want to talk about is your national security branch. You know the intelligence is one of the best defenses against terrorism, and we need to really focus on that. In the beginning, when National Security Branch stood up, I was concerned it was more of the culture, which is supposed to be of the FBI, of investigate, arrest, and convict. But yet, when you're dealing in the intelligence arena, you need a certain type of culture and collecting and analyzing and issues like that. And then there were some problems with certain people leaving, whatever. But I understand that the National Security Branch is really coming together pretty well. And could you explain where you are on that?
Yes. First of all, I do think that because you are an FBI agent and well-versed in law enforcement techniques, that does not mean you cannot utilize those skills to develop intelligence. And I do believe early on our organization, agents, analysts, and professional support understood that we had to prevent terrorist attacks, and that is a result of good intelligence, not necessarily putting people in jail. The caliber and quality of the intelligence analytical corps has dramatically improved over the last several years. Actually, Harvard Law School is doing a study. It's looked at us under the microscope in terms of an organization going through change. And we had a professor go out and visit offices he wanted to go to. He'd visit them 2 years apart, and he came back and he basically said, this is a different, completely different analytical corps than I saw 2 years ago. I do believe that the quality of our products, the ability of a special agent in charge of a division to look at what is happening in his or her domain and understand the intelligence threats, and then task persons to collect against the gaps that we don't have, has dramatically improved. The areas in which we still need improvement is to continue to grow our analytical core and the persons that can support that analytical core, data input, the tasks that are necessary to accumulate the data that can then be analyzed. And on the other side of it is data aggregation and better search tools in the IT side. So those are the two areas in which we still need to drive forward. Improving our continue to improve our analyst capacity with additional personnel, as well as improved information technology.
Now, you were a prosecutor years ago in this role, so you know law enforcement pretty well. I think anyone who's been in law enforcement understands sometimes there is turf battles, whether it's federal, state, or local. And what I'm concerned about, because I'm on another subcommittee, appropriations with Homeland Security, is really the issue of who's in charge and with respect to the FBI and Homeland Security. If I were the president, I would have FBI in charge, by the way. But there have been turf battles that I've been aware of and whatever, and these were years ago. But I think it's really important that you and Secretary Napolitano really focus on where we are and who is in charge of what, and not only in Homeland, but you're talking cybersecurity as an example. The President gave a directive to Homeland Security that they're supposed to be involved in .com and .gov. And I see Homeland Security as having so many missions on their table. I don't know how they're going to accomplish all of them. I think there are 22 different areas that they have to deal with. But I'm really focusing more on the issue of terrorism and where we're dealing, how you deal with them on that issue. And then secondly, you could address the cyber attack. We know cyber is a very serious issue. It's a serious threat to our country, to our businesses. And yet, you know, Homeland Security has a long way to go in order to be able to develop the programs that are necessary to deal with this issue. I feel more secure that NSA, who has the military side, they have the technology, need to know where it goes. But I think Homeland Security has a way to go. So working together with on those two issues, how are you dealing with Napolitano, and do you have any recommendations on who should be in charge of what, or who should have certain responsibilities?
I don't disagree that there have been some ambiguity, let me say, in terms of certain areas when it comes to terrorism, most particularly in terms of delivery of information to state and local law enforcement. And in the past, there's been confusion as to the relationship of fusion centers which have been established in every state generally through the governor, and the Joint Terrorism Task Forces, understanding that almost everyone I know defers to the Joint Terrorism Task Forces when it comes to action.
Can I stop you right there? I think the Joint Terrorism Task Force is probably our best defense right now against terrorism because of the strike force concept. You're in charge. You know you're in charge, but you have disciplines from every major agency in the United States that's there to fight terrorism. So I think it's a great program.
And I believe that that is acknowledged. The issues that we're working out with DHS, and we're doing it jointly, is the relationship of the fusion centers to Joint Terrorism Task Forces. No two fusion centers are necessarily the same. They are different. They've been established often for different purposes and different aspects of the local government, and our effort is to contribute to the success of fusion centers and also make certain that fusion centers are contributing to our success of the Joint Terrorism Task Force, and we're doing that jointly with DHS. Very briefly on the cyber side. Our role is investigating cyber attacks, preventing cyber attacks, and our principal vehicle to do that is the National Cyber Investigation Joint Terrorism Task Force, which has the contribution of a number of agencies, including NSA, to identify particular threats and to investigate the sourcing of those threats, to attribute those threats to either a country, an individual, or a group of individuals. That is our role. I think it is relatively clear that we do not have a role in protecting .com, .edu, or the rest. That is DHS's responsibility. But I do believe that our role and the principal role that we should play, and I think we play it fairly well, is to bring to the cyber task force arena what we've learned and utilized in the Joint Terrorism Task Force arena.